All right. Jazz legend Chick Corea is here to talk about a new solo album called Plays. We'll also discuss his online Chick Corea Academy. So, aspiring jazz musicians, take note. I'm Brian Zimmerman, and this is the Jazziz Last Call. All right. And as always, before we get into today's conversation with Chick, I wanted to let you know quickly about a new record on ECM Records. This one is by the guitarist John Schofield. It's a great trio album. It's John's leader debut on ECM Records, and it is a tribute to the pioneering electric bassist Steve Swallow, who also happens to be playing on this disc, along with the drummer Bill Stewart. It is an excellent record. I highly recommend it. And if you want to check it out for yourself, visit ECM records.com. Also wanted to let you know about our summer 2020 issue, and look who is on the cover, Mr. Chick Corea. So this issue has already been mailed to subscribers. It should be in your mailbox or hopefully on your coffee tables. Fortunately, all of the content from this print issue, including the cover story on Chick, is available as web articles on our website. You will need a digital subscription to read them, but fortunately, we're offering a special subscription rate for Jazz's Last Call viewers right now. For just 99 cents per month for 3 months, you can unlock unlimited digital access to our subscriber-only articles, including all the content from this issue and previous issues. Plus, come fall, we'll mail you a complimentary issue of our fall 2020 issue, which is all about the art of the album, collecting albums, producing albums, listening to albums, album cover art. Again, that's coming out in September. So again, you enroll now, you get 3 months of unlimited digital access, plus that complimentary print issue come September. All right. Yeah. Our guest today is the phenomenal Chick Corea, a jazz legend in every sense of the word. He has just released a new album called Plays, which is a live album. It finds him taking the stage by himself, though not totally alone, if you catch my drift. He is exploring an extensive musical lineage, interpreting pieces by Scarlatti, Bill Evans, Chopin, Thelonious Monk, and showing the connections between the generations of these musicians. It is coming out on August 28th. He's here to talk about it. And he's also going to be talking about his Chick Corea Academy, an online learning initiative for musicians of all levels. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Mr. Chick Corea to The Last Call. Chick, are you there?
How you doing, Brian?
Great, great. So nice to be talking to you in what are crazy times for the world. It is an absolute pleasure to be sharing an evening with you, Chick. So appreciate you being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I'm happy to be here and talk to you. Did I miss the toast?
No, we'll do it right now, Chick, as longtime viewers know. One thing we like to do. What do you got there? No, I never, you'd never miss a toast here, Chick.
Okay.
One thing we'd like to give a toast to some person, some place, some idea, something to start off the last call. So, Chick, who, what, where, when, why, how are we celebrating with this class?
Well, let's celebrate 3 people in my lineage who have a great connection, starting with Mozart in the 1700s. Coming up to Art Tatum in the early 1900s, and coming up to Stevie Wonder in the present. These are 3 pianist composers that are like heroes to me. And I just spoke to Stevie the other day, and he's looking good and doing great, and I love him, and I love Art Tatum, and I love Mozart, and all my piano player friends.
Beautiful. To Mozart, Art, and Stevie. I think we got to take 3 sips, I guess.
All right.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Chick. And, you know, that's kind of a good segue into your new album, Plays, which I've been listening to a lot, because one thing you do so nicely is kind of pair songs by different composers together so that you can hear those connections and how they reverberate through generations. You know, you start off with Mozart. It is a sonata in F, right? And that goes into Gershwin's Someone to Watch Over Me. And you explain in the lead up to the pairing of these songs that they just work together so nicely. Now, when this thing comes out and people are able to listen to it, I wonder if you're able to explain right off the bat here in musical terms, even though these songs were written generations apart, why they work together so nicely.
There's only one really simple-minded reason why, and that's because I think so.
Hey, that's good enough.
Yeah, no,
That
I mean that's one of the things I was trying to present in the recording about me playing different composers, and it's also the basis of my academy, which we can talk about later, which was art and music is a subjective view. Everyone creates their own tastes, they have their own likes. I made a recording with the Electric Band. I don't know if you remember one called "The Eye of the Beholder."
sure.
That comes from that age-old cliche. Well, more than a cliche, kind of a maxim that
Hmm.
beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So the connection between Gershwin and Mozart, between Stevie Wonder and Art Tatum, it's something that I think about and I present as an image to the public, and it's very real to me. So it becomes real to if I'm convincing enough, I guess it becomes real to whoever's listening.
Oh, you totally are, Chick. And it's inspiring because it encourages people, I think, to listen to music in a term I call, vertically through genre. So not necessarily horizontally across genre, but vertically through. So, again, if you really dig Miles Davis, you start to think about, what do I dig about Miles Davis? Maybe it's his use of space. So instead of listening across jazz for other trumpeters who may use, that use of space like that, maybe think vertically through genre all the way back to classical music of who really employed space to masterful effect. Someone like a Franz Schubert, or even, after Miles Davis, someone like a Nick Cave or a Brian Eno. And watching you make those connections, again, is inspiring because it not challenges, but encourages people to start thinking about the way they listen to music differently.
Yeah.
Which,
Well, I encourage the guys that are come into the academy. I encourage everybody really to kind of flex their imagination, to use your imagination. It's an ability that we have. It's part of our basic nature that we don't think about that it's something to use, And so if you don't actively use it and create things and make images and envision things, it can go like a car. If you don't use a car, it won't run after a year or two.
right, right. And we should mention, I mean, the nuts and bolts of this thing, it is a live concert. When and where was it recorded? Just a few years ago, right?
I think it was recorded in 2 or 3 different venues.
Okay.
There was one in Florida, the Capitol Theater in Clearwater. There was one in Paris. I think the guys that sat in with me, the pianists that I called up on stage, that was the Paris show.
Okay.
And there was one other show, I forget. But when I go on tours, like I'll have a tour with my trio, then I might have a tour with an orchestra, and do various things. I always have my booking agent let promoters know that I'm always available to play piano solo, because
Right.
it's like a filler and it's easy to do, and I love it, and I get to practice. So my piano solo concerts tend to be staggered in different parts of the world. Moscow to Tokyo to Sao Paulo, and
Totally. It's a 2 CD set, and it's packed with stuff. It almost feels like 3 or 4 concept albums in one, because like we mentioned, you kind of start the program with these pairings of composers, Chopin, Scarlatti, Bill Evans, Antonio Carlos Jobim. And toward the end of that first disc, you're kind of celebrating composers, one of which is Thelonious Monk. You were recording this, like you mentioned, in 2017, so it was the 100th anniversary of Monk's birth.
right.
There was recently a new, previously unreleased Thelonious Monk album announced, recorded at a high school in California or something like that. And I was wondering, you're obviously a piano master, but if you can think back to when you were a student, coming up, the first time you heard Monk, what was that like?
I can't remember the first time I heard Monk. It doesn't come right to me, because Monk, someone like Monk, I can't remember the first time I heard Mozart. I can't remember
Yeah.
the first time I heard Art Tatum. and it's because the musicians like that become a part of my life. It seems they're always there, you know. But I can tell you a great Monk story.
I love a good Monk story.
Which is really early on in my travels to New York. I came out of high school in 1959, and I moved immediately to New York City to find my heroes, of which Monk was around and alive and well. And by it must have been 61 or 62. I had the piano chair in Mongo Santa Maria's band, and we played a show at the Apollo Theater in New York, and there were three bands. We played for I think 3 or 4 weeks, like 6 nights a week, 1 night off, and three shows on weekends, 2 shows, you know. At the Apollo Theater, and there were 3 bands, and we opened the show with Mongo's band. The second band was Thelonious Monk's quartet, and the third band was Maynard Ferguson Big Band. So the story is that there was a curtain that came down, and picture me in the back of the curtain, backstage, and the curtain faced the audience, and right about eye length as you're standing was a hole about this big in the curtain, and right there was Thelonious Monk's piano sitting this way, facing the audience that way, and I got to watch Monk every night. That was my college. So, but
from a hole in the curtain.
Here's the story briefly. Which is Monk began this one particular set. He began the set and he played rhythming. Beep beep beep. You know, and the quartet was Charlie Rouse, John Orr on bass, Frankie Dunlop on drums, and they played this. Everyone took long solos. Monk got up and danced. Frankie Dunlop took a long drum solo. It must have been about 15-minute piece. Audience went wild. Monk then sat there after the applause, thought for a moment, and he went boom boom bing doom doo ding boom ding doom, and he played rhythm and ing again, same tempo. Everyone played long solos, fresh as a daisy. It swung like crazy. The audience went crazy. And after that performance, Monk sat at the piano again for a moment. Looked like he I don't know what he was doing. He thought maybe he was thinking of something or whatever. And then he went boom boom ding doo doo ding doo. And for a third time, he played rhythm and ing, same tempo, gorgeous fresh solo. He knocked the audience for a loop. He played a 45-minute set with the same tune 3 times. That was like kind of the quirkiness and inventive and spontaneousness of Monk. I never saw that done before, but that's a real learning experience for me.
If it works, it works. And that's kind of what I was going to ask was, you know, listening to Monk, and maybe even if you're not able to pinpoint when you first heard, but how does a player like Monk change the way you think about piano, you know, or performing?
It's hard to put into words because it's like every musician has a way that he is. He creates a personality or a beingness or the way, you know, how do you want to be? Well, this is how I want to be. Monk wants to be like that, and he wants to do that. He wrote, you know, and so one of the things I present to my academy is one way to learn is you become open with your attitude in being able to duplicate the beingness of another person. So there's Monk, and it's not only the notes that he wrote down or the sound that he makes on the piano, it's how he looks and how he moves and how he is as a being, you know. And so if you're able to embrace that and pick up traits, and then you go, well, like I never saw anyone do that. He must have invented that. And then it gets you into an idea of like, after you emulate somebody for a while, you finally should come to the conclusion that you can create anything you want to create. And that's where you get artists creating very new things that you've never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know
wonderful.
if that answered your question. Hey, you know, it's nice when the two of us are on screen like that. I like that.
I like that too. Yeah, kind of the talking heads thing. The very cool. But and let me remind people before we go on that I certainly don't have to be the only one asking questions here. We see you chiming in from all over, and continue. Feel free to drop us a line, say hi to Chick, let us know where you're watching from, and if you have a question, submit it in the comments. We'll try to get to it at the end of the show. Chick, I'd love to talk more about this album, because one of the most fascinating parts of this album for me was the portraits section. And again, could you explain, again, this thing is coming out August 28th, and when people listen to it, you go into a little bit there, but can you explain right now what that whole portraiture section of the album is all about?
Well, it evolved by me playing a lot of piano solo concerts in a row, and I love doing it. But when you're on the road and you're all by yourself, just with a friend, and you're traveling together, and I'm backstage by myself, and I'm on the stage by myself, and I'm by myself a lot, I get lonely, you know.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah. So I get on the stage and I play a set of music for an hour, and I get tired of myself after a while. So I like to invite the audience. So I started thinking of these games that I used to play when I was a kid at my grandfather's place. And one of the games was, we used to mimic one another with songs on the piano. There was this old upright piano in the basement. And if one of my aunts or one of my cousins walked by, I'd go ding, 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 play some funny tune to mock them. But then after a while, it became, the idea of the sophisticated idea of a tone poem, which is you take a subject or a person and you portray it like a painter does. Yeah. So I started inviting people up from the audience, explaining the game, sit them down next to the piano. Would you like to have your portrait improvised by me? And they'd come up, and I'd make sure and have some ladies and some guys to balance out humanity, and sit them down and just have a look at them, say hello, introduce them to the audience, and then just improvise something that I think portrays what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's fascinating to hear. And again, you do kind of conjure up what that person may look like, or at least, that personality. It's very cool. And I imagine, watching it live is really something special. How about this face, Chick? Face for radio. What key are you thinking?
I got no key. It's atonal, man.
I dig that.
I got a couple of melodies going for you already, but it's grooving, I can tell you that.
Oh, okay. Appreciate that, Chick. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a fascinating part of the disc. So too are these duets. Almost like impossible to believe that you said this happened in Paris. You invite people onto the stage and have them play with you, a duet with Chick on the spot. Yes.
Ask the question again.
Are these people that you invite from the stage? Because the premise behind the duets section of the disc is you invite audience members onto the stage to perform with you. Yeah. You've never played with them before.
No, this is absolutely not a setup. The problem with my game is that normally I get every kind of person that you can think of, from small kids who never touched the piano before, but who are courageous enough to walk up on stage and I get them playing, to professional classical pianists who come up and challenge me, right. And everything in between. But that night in Paris, these two guys that came up were both real pros. And I didn't know. They raised, I said, who would like to come up and play a four-hands duet with me? And one guy came up, and my only rule when people come up is that we're not going to play a song. We're going to improvise. We're just going to play. And I put my hands down on the piano and go, blah, and stop anywhere. And wow, both of these guys were like really, I could tell they were pros. So that was what you hear on the record is not the absolute usual. It was really special one, but they weren't set up, and they were absolutely throw down improv. And I had never met these guys before.
Totally. No, it was stellar. And this too came from a game that you used to play as a kid at, your grandfather's piano, right?
Yeah. Well, we used to sit down and play four hands. I had my Aunt Nina my father was one of 13 children. I had 6 aunts and seven uncles. And
Wow.
my oldest aunt, Nina, she used to play all of these standard tunes in E flat. She played everything in E flat. I
So you get
remember
all the
that.
black keys in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she only play in E flat.
Right.
And she would play a tune, and I'd sit down and play with her. I had a couple of cousins that played. I had Nina's daughter, Carolyn, was a very good pianist and singer, Carolyn. And so it was a kind of a musical family, and it was a great game. And I still like four hands. Yeah, I mean, 2 pianos is great when you have 2 grand pianos, but when you have one piano sitting right next to the guy and you share a keyboard, that's even more intimate.
Yeah, and it is superb how these 2 strangers come out of the audience and just weave this beautiful music with you.
Yeah.
It's very cool. You end the disc with children's songs, selections from your children's songs, and for those who may not know, what are the children's songs? In your mind, what defines a children's song for you?
They were piano songs that I wrote to while the time away, or to get my mind off of what I had been doing during that period in the 70s, which was basically staying on the road, touring forever with Return to Forever. We were everywhere, and we never came home. But when we did, I wanted to put my mind into something else, and so I decided to just sit at the piano and write some songs and themes that were just for the piano. But what I conjured was the spirit of children. Because you know how like, I give you an example. You go in an airport, right? Well, if you can anymore, but no, I guess
right.
But you go in an airport and all these people are around, and you're hurrying around. People are hurrying their ticket, and they're rushing, and they're eating, and they're asleep waiting for the plane or whatever. It's a weird atmosphere. But then when you see kids, they're like, if they're awake.
Right.
They're just so bright and
You're totally in awe of the place.
Exactly.
Wow, an airport. This is incredible.
They're so present, and they're so
Yeah.
bright, and they're so interested in life. And so I decided to try to portray that spirit, not for kids to play, because some of the pieces are not children's material, but they're the themes are kind of like portray. They're portraits, but they're portrait of the spirit of kids.
And I think that's what I and so many people love about your music, Chick, is that sense of joy and awe that you got from playing those portraits and duets and children's, at your grandparents' house is still very much present in the music, and we feel that. And it reminds me of one of my favorite writers, John McPhee, who says, if you looked at all my books, got like 30, 40 something books, 95% of them are about topics that I would have loved to write about as a kid. And that's why they're so good, in my opinion. So that joy is still very much there. And that's why we love it. The new album, again, coming out August 28th. It's called Plays, not to be confused with Play, the great album you did with Bobby McFerrin and Bella Fleck. This one is Plays, coming out August 28th. It's beautiful.
By the way, the name of the record became Plays, but it sounds weird to say, like plays, but it has a double meaning. It's like Chick Corea plays as a sentence,
right?
What does he do? He dances, he plays, he eats, he plays.
That's right. Does he dance, Chick? Are we going to get to see that?
A little bit.
There you go.
And then but the other meaning is where you see sometimes a performer, especially pianist, like Horowitz plays Mozart.
Right.
So this album, you can see the titles of the names of all of the composers. Chick Corea plays Stevie Wonder, Duke Ellington, Mozart. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. August 28th again. And on August 4th, we will have a premiere of Stevie Wonder. You cover the tune Pastime Paradise. We're going to be premiering it on our site. So people are going to check in August 4th for that. Before we get into, I want to learn more about the Chick Corea Academy. Again, just want to remind people, I don't have to be the only one asking questions. If you do have a question for Chick, feel free to submit it and we will get to it on air. But Chick, I have been scrolling through my Facebook and I've already started to see testimonials from people who have done the Chick Corea Academy, just saying 2 lessons in and my mind has already been blown. I'm thinking about music and my own playing in a totally different way. So what is the Chick Corea Academy? When did you start it?
Well, first of all, we started it about a month ago, and it's been an idea that I've had for a long, long time, because ever since young musicians or upcoming musicians began to ask me questions, because I would try to answer the question. It's like, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Right.
Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And so it became kind of a dialogue rather than a school. It's not a school.
Right.
A school, it doesn't have tests. We don't have levels, you know. What an academy, I looked up the word, it's more of a community of people interested in the advancement of art and music, sort of, to put in, you know, subtler terms.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And the approach of the academy starts at, like, you could envision it as a tunnel. I'm trying to get my camera.
There you go. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. If you can envision it as a tunnel, and you start at the top, and at the top here is just one thought.
Okay.
That is so fine that you can't put it into, that you can put it into several different words. And the thought is basically, think for yourself, freedom of expression. Right. You can create anything. You are the imagination. You make everything. It's your judgment is what it counts. All of these thoughts are right at the top of it. Really. Okay. And so then everything follows from that. So if someone says, well, why did you use that chord in that song?
You just point right back up to the top. Yeah.
Well, no, but I can't just point and ignore the question.
Right.
So the idea is I try to demonstrate that idea, but always kind of lead it back up to the fact that art and music are an expression and a creation that each individual has, that don't particularly have the kind of rules that the sciences have, like physics.
Right. Right.
To build a bridge, you got to know certain things. Well, to make music, what do you really need to know? And that's what we discuss. But how do you need to create? I think most of the students that come on, I don't call them students. They're not really students. They're academy members.
Okay.
When they come on, they ask technical questions, like we're all interested in the workshop part of it. You know, how to use the synthesizer. I just got a new camera for a gift that I'm trying to figure out what f-stop means, and it's fun. You know, tech is fun. But what I try to do is keep everybody their eye on their own responsibility as an artist to make the judgment themselves and to be the one who sets their own discipline for practice and for attainment. You see? So that's kind of the basic idea of it. We have fun, we interact. I bring on guests. I had Steve Gadd on.
Cool.
Last Stanley Clark came on, Bela Fleck came on, and my buddies.
Oh, very cool. You sounds very Socratic. I'm imagining the old philosophers sitting around, everybody asking questions, learning together. So do people sign up in a cohort? Is that how it works? Or in a cohort, do you sign up kind of as a class, or you can just register?
It's individually. I give, there's all of these workshops I've done there. I forget, there's like hundreds of hours of previous workshops that are, when you sign up, are available to you to look through. But I give one live workshop every week, and I invite some guests, some academy guests on, and they appear double screen, and we try to chat. Eventually, when all these restrictions have lifted, I'm going to invite some of the students to come down and be live with me in the studio. I'm trying to develop a community that is interested in the freedom of expression and getting everybody onto their own purposes and out of academia for a moment.
Right. Yeah. Because that's, historically how jazz was passed down, on the bandstand.
I have one more statement to make about that, because you prompted me that with what you just said. If you take the time, I would wager if you took the time to survey the very successful people in almost every field,
Yeah.
and especially in the arts and music, and ask them if they've been to school, and especially in the jazz field, just ask them what they think of school, and have they been to school, and you'll get a surprising result. And usually you go to school to meet other people,
Yeah.
and you occasionally find a really encouraging instructor,
Right.
or a teacher. But that's not the way. In art, we learn from our culture, and we learn from one another. And I love the fact that people share their technique on YouTube. You can go on YouTube
Yeah.
and learn. If you want to learn about f-stops, I go on YouTube.
All right. Very cool. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it has historically been done. And I think, there's a place for jazz schools because they provide a network, which is great. But some of the things you're talking about, yes, have to be learned just from being with other artists, and from learning from the elders and watching how they do it and making mistakes. And,
yeah,
that's how jazz was passed down. Very cool. Before we get to some audience questions, I wanted to again thank you for doing this.
That's
a young chick, a young chick on the cover there. Yeah, those were you are the cover story talking about the fusion days. One thing I thought was remarkable was that at the beginning of the interview, you said, "Oh, we're using the fusion word now. We're using that word. It used to be kind of a naughty word, a bad word.
Fusion.
Is that fusion?
Fusion.
Yeah."
He doesn't play jazz; he plays fusion. Downbeat once reviewed two of my recordings in the same issue. You remember the reviews? They used to be real critical.
Sure.
And one of the records was a recording with Roy Haynes and Miroslav Vitus, and the other record was a Return to Forever electric album.
Okay. And I'm sure it went whoop.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The trio record got 5 stars, and not only did they give no stars to the Return to Forever record, but they panned it like chicks trying to make money.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, I think I remember one Ornette Coleman record, or there's the same one. One reviewer gave it 5 stars, a masterpiece. The other reviewer gave it 0 stars. So, hey, that's jazz, I guess. But
that's a great cover. It sends me back to the 70s.
Yeah, no, I love it. And thank you for doing it. It's a great read. Again, if you want to subscribe, you read this content, jazziz.com, special subscription rate. One thing I think you were doing with Return to Forever, though, and you talk about a little bit in this interview, was, a lot of this fusion was very heavy, very intense, loud, a lot of instruments, a lot of drummers, so on and so forth. Return to Forever kind of seemed a little bit of an antidote to that, because it was definitely on the quieter, mellower, more intimate side. Was this conscious for you? Were you considering some of the louder stuff and wanted to take it a different direction?
Which Return to Forever were you thinking of?
The first
one. Oh, well,
yeah.
The first one wasn't yet an electric band. It was
true.
It was half and half. Ayrton was playing a small kit of drums. Joe Farrell was playing flute. I loved the flute together with the Rhodes. I also played piano a lot in that band, but it's not on the first record. Stanley was playing mostly acoustic bass, through an amplifier.
Right.
It wasn't until the second band that we turned up.
Right. So did you consider fusion was that a marketing word back then? I mean, did any of these groups, because you were talking with Mahavishnu Orchestra, Weatherport, did anybody consider this fusion, or was that just marketing?
Jazz, fusion, hip hop. I don't know about the word hip hop. All of these names for music, the musicians don't use them.
Right. It's important to clarify. And like I say, Chick, you go into a lot of that stuff in this issue. So if you want to read it, come on over to jazziz.com and read it. Chick, I would love to get into some audience questions. So Jeff, may we pull one up? Okay, from Giancarlo here. Any chances of an electric band European tour next year, or any tour next year for that?
Oh
matter, I guess. Yeah.
Next year I've got orchestral dates, and I'm bringing out my fresh young. I call it my young band. I don't know how old they are, but they're a lot younger than me.
Who's in it?
Carlitos Del Puerto is my
Okay.
and Marcus Gilmore, who's Roy Haynes' grandson, is the drummer.
Phenomenal drummer, yeah.
We have a great trio hookup, and there may be other guests that I pull in with that trio, but we're creating a series of dates. And then in the U.S., I'm hoping to pull off a tour with the next year with the Spanish Heart Band, which is the new recording on Antidote.
Yes, a beautiful album.
Called Antidote.
Called Antidote, right, on Concord Jazz. And horn section in there, Steve Davis, Michael Rodriguez. Yeah, no, that was a great record too. So you're kind of ready, you're to travel, to get back in the clubs, whatever they may look like. You're ready to get back. Yeah, okay.
They've got us like
I know it's got to be so tough, for touring musicians. I guess there is a silver lining that you get to be home, and be in one place with the people you love for at least a little while. But I'm sure you're itching to get back on the road.
Well, I'm creating like a lot of my friends. As a matter of fact, you mentioned Steve Swallow earlier in John Scofield's new record.
Yeah,
I'm making some duet recordings with Steve now.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah, virtually.
Yeah,
over the internet. Oh, okay. And those you're going to release those?
Well, I mean, it's not really virtually. It's like I lay something down.
Oh, you lay something down?
And he puts his bass on it, and then we send it back and forth. I'm also doing some stuff with Hewitt Laws.
Okay.
We're doing some duets, and I'm recording some new music with Bela Fleck. And
awesome.
Stanley Clark and I have some plans to do things. And so, I mean, you got to keep creation going, but all of us are itchy to get back out playing live.
I believe it. And we can't wait until you are. Jeff, any more questions here for Chick? Here we go from Christian de Mesones. Hey, Chick, Romantic Warrior is the album that defines a magical musical moment in my life. My question to you is this: how much was written out and given to the other band members, and how much was spontaneously created?
Romantic Warrior and generally Return to Forever's repertoire was built mainly from composition. I would bring in a written out composition and we'd play that. But the magic of the band was that the guys in the band took the notes and really created with them. And I would get mad sometime. We'd be at a concert and the set would be over, and I'd look on the floor and I'd see that Stanley had been stepping on his music. It was because he didn't need it anymore.
Hey, well,
right. But then
it's good to hear.
We created on that, and then I encouraged the guys to also write. So Romantic Warrior is not just my compositions; it's also Stanley Clark has a composition, Lenny White has a composition. So the composition was the basis of Return to Forever, but the creativity of the musicians, the way we and the music evolved the music really evolved in concert. Romantic Warrior was one of the only records we recorded. We took out on the road after we recorded it, so we tweaked that one a lot. We stayed with it a lot. We overdubbed and fixed things, and that was a real cut them up and piece it together kind of record.
It is a masterpiece and one of the coolest album covers in jazz, I must say. Goes down in history. Did you select that album cover?
I hired the artist.
Very cool.
And Neville Potter, our lyricist, and myself, we came up with the idea of a Romantic Warrior. It gave the idea to the artist, and that's what he came up with, which was brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. That's back when a record was a tangible thing. You held it in your hands as the music played. I say this because I'm working on a story on album covers right now, and just how important they used to be, to the whole experience of playing a record.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm glad that the LPs are still being enjoyed by a certain segment of the public. We want to continue to give them a tangible work of art.
Yeah, very cool. All right, last question here from the viewing audience, Chick, and we'll see what it is. Okay, from Rosa Amavora. What would you like your legacy to be?
Whatever you want it to be, Rosa. That's up to you and Brian and my son and daughter and the fans and whatever. I don't care. That's not my job.
Legacy is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
All right, very cool.
I'm not beholding.
Well, Chick, hey, this was an absolute pleasure. Again, thank you so much for chatting with me today, for chatting with us. Look at that handsome guy on the cover with the mustache and everything. If you want to read this issue, head on over to jazziz.com. All the content is available there. The new album, Chick Corea Plays, August 28th. If people want to learn more about the Chick Corea Academy, Chick, where can they do that?
I don't know, chickcoreaacademy.com, I guess.
Okay.
chickcoreaacademy.com.
Very cool. You can sign up there, be taking lessons with Chick. Again, this has been an absolute pleasure. I sincerely appreciate it. Thanks for joining me for Last Call, Chick. This was awesome.
Right, yeah. Thanks a lot. Good luck, and thanks for running the magazine so well.
Oh, you got it. Thanks a lot, Chick.
All right.
So long. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Wow. Thank you to the legendary Chick Corea for chatting with us tonight on the Jazziz Last Call. Again, the new album, it's coming out in August 28th. It's called Chick Corea Plays. Pre-order it now. It's really good. And aspiring jazz musicians, check out Chick Corea Academy. You get to learn from the master. Hey, if you like this show, please subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Check out jazziz.com. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been The Last Call. I'm going to close down the bar. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I'm Brian Zimmerman. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.